Ancient Greece was a time filled with exploration of the arts, mathematics, astronomy, and philosophy. Along with it came many advancements in medicine as well as their religious aspirations. As many of you may know, mythology was also a pretty big deal at the time. Mythology originated from the Greek word mythos, meaning logos or speech and rational account. Though nowadays we see myths as being accounts of fiction or fable, back then the Greeks believed these stories full-heartedly. These stories were told by men for men. Though there were accounts of women's stories and their mighty prowess, it often centered around the male aspect of them. In Homeric hymns, Aphrodite was described as being born out of sea foam, adorned in lavish jewels and golden attire. The hymn goes on to transcribe how beautiful and simply awe-inspiring Aphrodite was to all she encountered. In Hesiod, the mighty Athena was born out of Zeus's head. Zeus's head. She protruded from his skull with an angry war cry, small in stature, but quickly growing into the size of a god. She was clad head to toe in armor, carrying an awesome shield and weapon in her hand. The male writers gave power and authority to much of the women, not only just gods, but mortals too. It's also important to mention that women were not overtly disillusioned as much as stories claim. A lot of specific details are lost through translations, and these slight variations can cause people to have misconceptions. Though women were not equal to men, it is important to discuss how the Greeks at least gave women credit in their abilities to perform tasks and become educated. Later religions thwomped upon women's abilities, and it's interesting how, as time progressed, men gave women less and less validity. Loyalty and staying faithful to your spouse was also a pretty big deal in this time period, especially for men. It was greatly looked down upon if you cheated, which is odd considering their most powerful looked up to god, the old Zeus, often cheated on his wife Hera. Nevertheless, many mythological stories backed up this idea of staying devoted to their significant other. Women were also to be protected by their husbands, often being treated like objects. Ancient Greece society also favored homosexuality over heterosexuality. Evidence of this is often displayed throughout the myths. The Orpheus myth depicts a prime example of this. See, Orpheus was a son of the god Apollo, the sun god. He eventually fell in love with and married a beautiful woman named Eurydice, but it was not meant to last. She soon died and was sent to the underworld. Orpheus was filled with such lamentation that he decided to descend down to the underworld to retrieve his wife. Long story short, he was unable to and swore off women because, she was his one true love. In his lifetime, it was said that he took upon male lovers, but never women. When he was reborn into his next life, he even turned into a swan, so he wouldn't be birthed from a woman. This story offered acceptance for those who displayed homosexual tendencies. Just before the age of puberty was reached, boys were seen as being feminine figures to older men, hence why homosexuality was commonly accepted.